Hey all, welcome back to the 5 Minutes or So Daily Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Smith, and this is the State of Marketing for October 5th, 2020. Let's talk about some food and marketing news. Casey's General Store is one of the biggest convenience stores in the Midwest United States, with more than 2,200 locations in 16 states. If you're from Iowa, like me, you already know about this. Other Midwest states, you've probably got Casey's around you too. I live on the West Coast in Arizona now, so we're not seeing these anymore. But anyway, in the Midwest, especially in small towns, it's more than just a convenience store. It's a way of life. Local Casey's is your gas station, it's your convenience store, it's your grocery store, it's the upscale restaurant or the only one in town, and it's the go-to place to meet a friend, to share a cup of coffee, and a slice of za. Iowans in particular love their Casey's pizza. It's been memed to death. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you're seeing some of these memes that are popping up about Casey's Pizza specifically. And their customers have a pretty much religious devotion / brand fandom. If you heard my brand fandom episode a couple months ago, Casey's is a prime example for this. They have some of the most loyal brand fans you'll ever see. Which is why on Thursday, when it was announced that Casey's would be rebranding, this came as a shock to Iowans and the Midwest. Posts about this rebrand filled my Facebook feed, and some of the comments that we're going to show here were bold and shocking. The common theme was anger and disgust. And that's awful. If you're a food brand that's considering rebranding, this is exactly the type of PR outrage you're trying to avoid. Let's take a look at some of the comments and see just why people were angry and also what this means if you're a company that's trying to rebrand. Number 1, let's read this quote from Ashley. Why waste money on a logo nobody cares about? Maybe they should use that money to update some of their stores. The one here in town, for instance. And then she talks about parking problems, a rundown building, and not even having an exit door leading outside in the kitchen. And she ends with, use the money where it's needed and fix what needs to be fixed. And this first issue comes down to having problems that aren't related to your marketing or branding whatsoever, which apparently Casey's has. Most companies don't consider rebranding unless there's been some sort of issue with their performance or how their brand's being perceived by customers. And your brand may be being perceived poorly by customers, not because of the look and feel or your logo or anything as superficial as that, but more the offerings, the quality of what you're providing. So for Casey's, it's things like bathrooms or parking, as opposed to them thinking that the logo is old and outdated. So as marketers especially, we like to think that branding solves all your problems and rebrands can reposition your company in a different way. But another way to do that is just fix other problems, and then your marketing efforts will improve because you're fixed. Just listen to your customers and think about these non-marketing issues as well. Number 2, here's some other quotes from these Facebook posts and Instagram posts. From Emily, reminds me of Chick-fil-A. From Gem City Vintage, this logo is terrible, sterile, and generic as hell. The original logo is warm and inviting. This logo looks like it would be a fading vinyl decal on a fading vinyl decal on a failed restaurant. Awful. From Jordan Flow AZ, laughably generic. This is what happens when a bunch of executives are forced to agree on the same thing. Chick-fil-A, Arby's, Wendy's, and Jack in the Box want their design rebrands back. Now, also looking specifically at the Des Moines area gas station market, 3 of the major brands are Come and Go, Quick Trip, and also Quick Trip. And all 3 of these brands have a very similar look and feel, color scheme. They're all red, black, and white. And there's a reason for that. Red is typically associated with hunger. It's a food psychology trick. And Casey's original logo wasn't nearly as generic. They also included that yellow in the image. They used a different kind of font, an old-fashioned serif font that made it look rustic and appeal to those rural customers that were the raving brand fans for Casey's. Now, let's take a look at their new logo and how it compares. It's almost identical. And the comments from the last Instagram user about it looking like Chick-fil-A, like Arby's, like all of these brands, that's because everybody's switching to this single color palette in order to save money on printing costs. But even if it would save you money on printing costs, you still have to consider what your competition's doing. And one major misstep that I saw from Casey's is trying to be like everybody else. They had their own unique style, and this new logo completely shifts from that style and blends into the crowd. And this last point from Lisa makes it look cheap. The original was fine. And then this last part is what I want to emphasize. Don't fix what isn't broken. That's another really key point when you're thinking about rebranding for your business. If the color scheme and logo and all of those different elements aren't broken, do not fix it. Even if you want to upgrade your stores or upgrade your products, unless you absolutely need to, and your customers are still having a positive reception to your brand, you're capturing those brand fans. Don't rebrand, don't fix what isn't broken. So, in summary, the three biggest things that you can learn from Casey's mistaken rebrand is fix non-marketing issues first, number one. If you have lingering issues that are angering your customers, that they want to see fixed, fix those first. Don't worry so much about your logo and your branding, because those other things are usually more important. Number two, don't be a copycat brand, and don't be afraid to have your own identity. So even if you might potentially save costs, really consider, is it worth it? And number three, which is that last one we alluded to, don't fix what isn't broken.
All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you for sticking with us and tuning in. Real quick, if you liked today's episode, we'd love it if you sub to the podcast wherever you're listening to it, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. To get in touch with us and find more content, you can visit our website, which is nestled right there in the show notes. Have a great day, y'all, and as always, good luck and good marketing.